Hey, all right. Welcome to the podcast. I'm going solo tonight. It's kind of a night. It's a night cast. Got a little, maybe a little mood. Maybe that's gonna, maybe that's gonna bring up some different things. You don't know. I don't even know. Going vertical on the screen. I feel like I'm gonna do that if I go solo. I don't know. It just feels a little bit more, just shooting from the hip, a little more guerrilla theater. You know, I'm saying, you can. It makes it easy for you to watch on your phones. So even if and if you don't watch and you just listen to the podcast, which is great because I mean that's really what this is for. The podcast, Apple Podcast. You got your Spotify, you got your iHeart, pocket, wherever you get your podcasts. Making no sense with Tom Cena. The sense is spelled Cents because I'm funny. um, it's just an homage to my old cable access talk show. All right, so what are we going to talk about? What are we? I mean, here's the deal. Here's another thing about this podcast tonight. Who knows? We don't even know. We don't know. You don't know because I prepared nothing. I was gonna bring my iPad out here. I was gonna make some notes. And I was just like, no, I'm just gonna riff. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna riff. Like when I get my jazz musicians together and we just sit down at our instruments and we're just riff. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. I'm just gonna riff. And the guys are like, all right, go ahead and riff. All right, I'll start. And they're like, okay, go ahead and riff. I'm like, I'm gonna riff. They're like, okay, riff. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna riff. Don't worry, I'm gonna riff. And they're like, riff it up. All right, let's riff it. I'm gonna riff. Here we go. Just let me riff. And then I don't know. And then who knows? You just don't know where it's gonna go. Can you tell that I'm not prepared? Can you? Come on. You can't tell, can you? All right. So what are we going to talk about tonight? What are we going to riff about tonight? I am not drunk. I have not drank in 1,000 years because I'm a sober freak. And yeah. So what's going on in the world? Really? So I've gone round and round on this one. I've got some real conservative, friends. Yeah. So, you're like, oh, don't talk about. It's just like, I mean, that ship has sailed about that. I mean, at this point, it's not politics. If I talk about, Trump being insane, that's not political. It's not at this point. Just, I mean, please, if you're not getting that information, if you're not getting enough information that you yourself have not come to that conclusion that was a bad turn. That was a swing and a miss. All right, maybe you thought, you know what, the government can use a little bit of shakeup, and we tax too much. Or you know what, maybe you just we'll take his tax cut, or whatever. It's like, and I have a hard time. I have a hard time not using that voice when I think about, which is not fair. But it's like, well, what do you do? It's like, so that's just what I hear. But it's just, if whatever the reason was that you maybe made that choice and you're still watching me, which is very peculiar, but I know there's a few of you out there that still kind of follow me, even though you completely disagree with my politics. And I guess that's a credit to you for hanging with me for whatever reason. But which is good, I guess, because maybe there will be a day that we are past this, and I'm getting more and more concerned about that day. The crazier this gets, and the more not well, there's not more. There's fewer and fewer people that do support him. That's been made clear, especially like this week. polls are disaster. I mean, he is losing his grip for sure. But because of what he's done already, in regards to you know depleting the DOJ of anybody that has you know half of uh, just a quarter of a bit of civility to them. I mean, in every other agency, any other guardrail agency, department, whatever, he's pretty much gutted. I mean, very systematically, his team, they were ready to go, and when they got in that door, just to like, they had their plan, they had their little, they had their plan in place, and they're, by God, they've done it. And now I mean, we've always just taken him at his word because he's pretty much said that's what he was going to do from the get go. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you were like, it's just kind of hyperbole. It's just some braggadocio. He's a little braggadocio. Hey, he's a little braggadocious, Well, now it's just like, it's really fucking up the country. It's really affecting humans. If you have that in you, I guess, you'll have seen that now. Now, my point is if you have not come to that conclusion, and I'll throw this one last life preserver out there for you, because maybe you have just chosen to not watch anything except for maybe Fox News, or just, or even worse, like, Newsmax, or you're dialing up talk, radio, in the just, and you're only hearing just, the people, those last hanger-oners that are still saying he's doing so great, he is the greatest president in the world that we've ever, and he's done all this great, and hang in there, don't worry, the economy will start kicking in pretty soon, the tariffs, don't worry. I mean, if you're still holding on for hope, or I've heard a couple people being like, but what about all the good stuff he's doing? It's just like, I mean, okay, I mean, a broken clock is right 2 times a day. I mean, so I'm not saying there haven't been some, there haven't been, I mean, I'm hard pressed to think of anything, but, I'm sure if you're clinging on to him still, I'm sure that there's maybe something that you feel that was good that he did. Listen, we all felt like the government could use a shakeup. That's all good. This isn't it. This is, talk about throwing out the baby with the bathwater. I mean, this was the wrong play. We knew it. You didn't. I hope now you do. And if that's the case, then okay. Call it a swing and a miss. I mean, wow, what a swing and a miss. But, and if not, if you're still sitting back being like, those silly liberals or whatever, they're just complaining about it. It's just like, the woke people. Oh, jeez. I mean, really? I mean, then, you know what? Good luck to you. That's the people that I'm concerned about after this is all done. It's like, what are you going to do? Your grandchildren are going to study this in school about how horrible it was as a, of course, another cautionary tale. I'm not sitting here saying there'll be a reckoning. I mean, because I know that literally there are conservative, old white guys that are like super concerned that if we let go now, this whole country is going to hell. It's like, it's in hell right now because of him. But, and going worse, if he does stay in power, it will get much, much worse. But I understand it's not hell for you. I get that. It's, you feel like it's even pretty good for you. And there are probably some things that are good for you. You'll probably get a big tax break. You'll probably, there'll be less brown people for you to have to deal with and think about. There'll be LGBTQ. They're gonna have to probably shut up and go back into hiding and kill themselves and be but they're going to be out of your way, and you won't have to deal with that. And I get that you feel like that's a better world for you. I know the world that you're choosing right now. But it's just not gonna last. It's not gonna, I mean, I'm talking, it's crumbling around him right now. And it's, to a certain extent, it will crumble around you. Although I do feel like you'll be able to just kind of sweep it under the rug and just be like, well, let's see what's going on. What's on TV today? You might be able to get away with that. I don't know. I mean, but what's not going to happen is the big fear about what's going to happen to this country when these liberals get back in control or whatever. It's just like, well, you know what we're not going to do? We're not going to throw you into, in the back of a van and ship you back to, Scotland or England or wherever you came from, wherever your folks came from or your grandparents or whatever. I've been Americans for 13 generations. It's like, shut up. Shut up. God, just shut up. You are no more American than anyone else that's here, because that's how this country works. That's how it was built. It was built on what you learned when you were in grade school. Why have you just forgotten that? What did you learn in grade school? It was a melting pot. Do you remember that? It was a melting pot. We all learned that in grade school, starting in first grade. And that was a beautiful thing. That was a thing that was celebrated. And that was how we became a superpower in this world, was by being the beacon on the hill for all the world to see. It gave us the moral high ground when going into conflict. Now, have we completely fucked that? Well, we have for now. I mean, that's super apparent. And I know you don't think that's important. I know you hate everywhere else, except for a place for you to go on vacation once in a while and, be a horrible person and then come home. I get that. That's a great thing. You love that. Great. But the truth of the matter is we're learning. If we have, we already knew, but I mean, a lot of people are learning that, what? The world works much better with a little bit of interdependency. That's just the grease, on the wheels of how everything keeps going and working well. Having partners, you're better united than divided. I mean, all of the things that we have ever learned in school, from grade school on, are all of the things that still and will always matter and be the thing that we should try to strive for. And you guys have just forgotten or just have closed the book on all of that stuff, thinking, oh, that's all just childish. It's just like, no, those were fundamental principles of how the world should live. And when they're not, when someone in the world is not living like that, it really stands out when the rest of us are living that way, with high morals, high principles, integrity. And when someone's not acting like that, it's just sticks out like a sore thumb. And it's just like, oh, then they have the world's pressure that we could put upon those people and just be like, hey, fucking straighten up. Quit acting like a douche, Putin or whoever, you know, whoever it happens to be. But I mean, anyway, that's just a little bit. It's just a little bit of how I feel about it. Don't even get me started on the other shit. So I was going to have an immigration attorney on here last week. She's a friend of mine. She was going to come sit down and we were going to talk about it. We were going to be like, let's open up, you know, and, because I wanted to hear, you know, let's hear some real things because people are always commenting just the most silly things that they believe. And I'm like, do you really believe that? Or are you just trying to troll whatever the post is about? You know, like let's say, you know, WOW posts something that happened. And of course you'll have just tons of people, you know, in Nebraska weighing in on, you know, well, they weren't where they were supposed to be. They weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing and all that kind of stuff. Among so much other stuff. Or, you know, they need to do it the right way, you know, like our ancestors did. And it's just like, really? When your ancestors came over, they went through Ellis Island. It was just like, yeah, okay, done, go, bye. You know, there wasn't much to it, okay? They had to save up their little dollars and they come over here on a boat and they get stamped through and they're, you know, welcome to America. Well, it's a lot harder than that now. And are we, you know, and I know your go-to is, well, we can't just open up the borders. It's like, well, guess what? Nobody's saying that. So much of the things that the right complains about are just completely fabricated, made up, slippery slope bullshit. And I'm just amazed that people buy that, but they do. So there are most of the people getting deported have legal status here. They had it, and now what's happening? Okay, so what happened with this immigration attorney that was going to come? Well, guess what? Right before she came over here, she was bringing a client in to have a hearing on their pending case, and they were doing all the right things. And the DHS has taken upon themselves to start going into these cases and putting an expiration date on there for filing or whatever it is, or for this hearing, and not telling anyone about it, so that when the attorneys don't even know. So that when the attorneys bring their clients in, the judge takes a look at the thing and says, oh, this was, you know, and these judges are all these same handpicked administrative judges. These are not like, these are like the lowest of judges that were all thrown into this thing and, you know, have been put through the litmus test. This is like, well, they're you know, gauged on what's your percentage of, you know, of letting these, you know, of giving these people, you know, amnesty or whatever it is that they're there for. And if not, they're canned. If they have, if the percentage is too high, they get canned and they bring in some, you know, some other stoolie. So this is all going on right here in good old Omaha. And it's going on all over the country. So these are people that have done it the right way. They have busted their ass to get here because they think this country is amazing and can afford them a dream, and, you know, and they're willing to completely bust their ass and work hard and become a huge asset to us in this country. Do you understand? They pay taxes. They do pay taxes. They pay taxes. They pay into Social Security that they will never get back. Do you get that? I mean, we're making bank off these people that you think are freeloading on us. It's just a bullshit case. It's not true, and you've been sold a bill of goods. So what happened with her is she brought these people there. The judge was like, no, this is expired. Your case is done. They came and they took her client and their child away in front of her. Shipped him off. Just like that. She was distraught. She was like, I can't do a podcast tonight. I'm like, I get it. Now, she is talking to a group of immigration attorneys. I'm still just reeling about that. Anyway, so she talked to another group of some friends of hers, and we're gonna put something together, and then maybe I'll talk to more than one of them. But I'm gonna talk to them on here. So yeah, guess what? Stand by on that. So if you didn't know that that's where this was gonna go, sorry, but I'm gonna just this podcast is going to be just me speaking my own truth. Just like I do on Facebook. You've seen it. It's no different. I post stuff about this stuff. I post things all the time. I'm trying to speak, use my voice. I'm trying to put out there, and I know you guys see it. I see who looks at my feed. I see who looks at my stories and stuff. I know you're seeing it. And I know who's not liking stuff too. I hate to say it, but it's, I once heard this from, who was it? It was a celebrity. He was a musician. I don't know. I can't remember who it was, but he's like, especially when you have like a death in the family or something traumatic that happens, it's like, you know what you really notice is you can't help but take notice of who didn't show up. So that's the thing. When people die, when you don't know, oh, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do. I mean, show up, even if you don't know, because that makes a difference. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it gets real personal real quick. So anyway, I will have those immigration attorneys on at some point. And we will also talk all the time on funny, goofy shit, because that's also who I am. But I am going to get real sometimes, and be like, you know what? I'm talking about this stuff, because that's on my mind. So that's that was one of my first questions to myself on this today. It's like, well, what am I thinking? What's going on? Well, that's going on. Here's the last thing I'm going to say on that, maybe, is that I struggle with being just, hurt to the core about who I don't feel is showing up regarding these topics. Because I take it so personally. But I know, but it's not about me. It's about the morality of what's going on. And even, and how, I mean, I can't even get past the, why do you even bring up the legality of a situation? I mean, even though that story is BS, even if it weren't, it's like, what are you talking about? They're taking kids and parents away from kids. I mean, just because of what? Because there was a problem going on or whatever? Nope. There wasn't a problem. There was not a problem. Did they have a border crisis? Not nearly what you got fed. There were times where the border got overrun and whatever. So you deal with that, And how do you deal with that? Well, I could tell you what, the amount of money that we're spending on ICE, 50 grand signing bonus for all these just bozos. I mean, and forgiving student loans. I mean, can you imagine the money? I know that there's stats out there, and it's staggering. The amount of money that Trump is making off of you, by the way, by suing the IRS and all the DOJ, all of the departments that he now completely has control of. He is going to do a settlement with himself. He even said this. He said these words, I think just yesterday, the day before, that he'll figure out a settlement uh, about that. And that's all money that we're talking about, billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars. That's just coming right out of our pockets. So, all of this stuff that's going on, you know, and yet you guys have the audacity to complain about how we're going to pay for that. Again, yet another ship that has sailed. Never again am I going to hear that. No, because I know how much money we have blown on dumb, horrible, horrible shit. So, yeah, we could have hired agents. We could have put enough people down at the border, enough people to process people through and to hear and to do and to vet cases and da 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 da. I mean, yeah. Um, and done sensible, you know, have sensible policies put in place. So yeah, nobody said just open the borders. And also the shit that you've been fed about all these terrorists and stuff sneaking in on it's like shut up. Again, what's happened? Have there been terrorists? Have there been a lot of Mexican terrorists? And then I know you've been fed these stories about these Mexican gangs. What I mean, these guys are nothing compared to the gangs that we've already had here, including white supremacist gangs, all kinds of shit. I mean, so again, we already had laws in place about don't commit crimes. Don't commit, and no, that doesn't include coming into this country. That's not a crime. That's a civil offense. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what you guys always talk about, like crazy crime and violent crime and all this stuff and drugs and all this stuff. We already had that. We already had all the laws in place, and we already had law enforcement in place to deal with all of that. If that's a problem, then law enforcement, then, have law enforcement make the changes that they need to change to take care of that. This ridiculous private army of Trump's is just so incongruent. So, I mean, just so the antithesis of what, the Constitution is about, the Bill of Rights. I mean, there is a list of grievances against the king in the Declaration of Independence that is hanging over Trump's desk that I promise you he has never read because of what he said about what was in the Declaration, about when he made some reference to it. He just doesn't read. But there is a list of grievances that are just, you could go down those lists and it is just point by point. It's like maybe he did read it because those exact things are everything that he is doing. So anyway, again, here is the last thing I'm going to say on this. And if you're still with me, God, man, fuck you. Thank you. So here's the last thing I want to say. And I'm going to say this in a positive, hopeful way for everyone, including people that I have railed against in my utter disbelief and disappointment in. This includes you too. And this is a hopeful message. And I hope you don't take offense at this, because at this point, throughout this whole thing, I keep on going back to like, how can this be? how can people I know in life not be speaking out? How can they be even supporting him? Maybe even still. And then there's those people that are like, oh, well, you know, yeah, he's not a virtuous whatever, but you know what? He's getting the job done. It's like, anyway, again, maybe you've been caught in such an echo chamber that is all that you have been receiving, and you just haven't. I don't know how this is possible, but you haven't been getting the footage and seen his speeches and heard the things that he says when he's getting onto the airplane and talking to reporters and criticizing women constantly and being just a horrible person. All the things. Maybe you're not catching that. I don't know. I gotta hold on to something. I'm clinging on to something for the day after. Okay? So maybe so here it is. And I didn't come up with this. Someone else smarter than I came up with this. But they said, think about how you would treat maybe like a grandparent or somebody that got sold, some swampland in Florida. Got taken in by a scam. And maybe it was a very highly sophisticated scam or whatever. Just imagine how you would treat them. Because that has to be a significant, I'm hoping that that's a significant portion of the people that are still kind of haven't woken up from this nightmare. And so how would you treat them? You would treat them with civility, of course. They're your grandparents. They're people that people that you care about. They're people. How about just that? They're humans. So you would treat them with civility. You would offer them support. You would feel sorry for them. You would, and not pity. I'm not trying to talk down to you. I'm trying to think of how we can look at this having lived through it on different sides of a massive divide. And because I want to believe that we can someday come together again. I want to believe that just as a loving, hopeful human. And so that is that's one of the things that I've heard that kind of just like helped me in regards to, yeah, that might just be helpful, in regards to this. And I know that there's a lot of people probably on the left that are like, fuck that. Fuck them. I mean, and I believe me, I have those days a lot. But I also, because I have people in my life, and I know that you all have people in your life that are on the other that are still either like straddling the line or still on the other side, or that you're just gonna have to try and navigate, because you can't just be like fuck everybody, fuck them all. I mean, you can, but at some point, I think we'll do much better as a country. How about that? I think you will even do better, I think, as a moral, loving human is if you can find a way to, and I don't know if it's forgiveness necessarily, um, but you have to somehow navigate how it is that they may have been over there. I mean, I get how they started over there, conservatism. I get it. I don't like the government doing crazy spending, and I certainly don't like a government that has overreach. But I mean, the ironic thing is just that, we're getting that times 20 with him. Crazy spending, crazy overreach, and yet that was, the absolute, you know, antithesis of what the Conservative Party used to be. Um, but here we are. And I mean, so in those regards, policy, fiscally, I can be, I get it. I mean, I could be moderate on a lot of that stuff. And I think that that's where the country used to kind of live. There was give and take. I mean, there's a lot of these bills that came down through the ages that were bipartisan bills that were like, Congress came together on stuff. The Senate came together, for God's sake, on stuff. I mean, there has to be somehow a way, there has to be a path to get back, or not get back. Let's fuck getting back. Fuck going back. Fuck again. Moving forward. There has to be a way for us to move forward as a country and find the, the greater angels. We have to have hope still. We've had some shining moments in our history among many horrible moments. And I think just like you would in your normal life, living honest and true, not pretending that shit didn't happen. All the things that like a really good therapist would tell you to do. I mean, I guess that's what we just need to do as a country. Bottom line. And I have hope. I do have hope. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up on that. But man, we've got a ways to go, and it's not going to be easy, and I know it's going to get worse before it gets better, and I do not look forward to that. And I don't know. I mean, it's going to get crazy here as we move towards November. Okay. So, what else is going on? You know what? Maybe that's it. I'm going to leave it there. This will be a podcast about that, I guess. I didn't think so. I was just going to touch on that and move on. But I've said my piece. I've just, this is just a slice of me. This is just one dude's opinion. Kind of an older dude. I've gotten older. I've gotten pretty damn old. So I've seen a lot of shit. And yes, everything about, you've heard it before, the older I get, I feel like the less I know. There's a humility that comes with age. But there's also a realism of just not having it in you anymore just to put up with shit for shit's sake. So anyway, there it is. There's my podcast for tonight. Wow. Talk about riffing. Man, I riffed. Riffing has been done. All right, guys. You know what? I'm going to leave you with this. Because I promise you, in everything that I know about anything is love. I'm going to get corny on you. I'm going to get all corny on you. Man, I love you. Love is love is the answer. And it will always be the answer. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's what I'm going to leave you with. Peace out, guys.